Welcome back to another episode of Living the Standard, the podcast for those who refuse to settle for average. I'm your host, Brandon Hogan. Each episode, we talk about raising your standard in the gym, in business, and in life. How's it going, everyone? First off, just want to apologize for no episode last week. We had influenza B going through our house. Me and the fiance had it pretty rough, so it was a long week and a half. But we're doing better now, and basically back to 100%. Just have a cough that's kind of lingering, but yeah, we're back. Today, I want to just kind of dive back into the story of building Bar Raising Fitness. Uh, Basically, from the garage, now we're back, or getting back on track, diving into where we left off, opening that first facility inside the mall. And we just had our grand opening with it 2019, March of 2019. And now I had to find some clients. And like I mentioned in the past episode, that I really didn't have any clients, and we had no money really to even afford next month's rent. But we had a credit card at least. But yeah, it was me, my cousin, and my buddy at the time, and like I said, we just had our grand opening, feeling good. Um, what we decided to do was have set hours that, okay, hey, let's be here. Our open hours 5 a.m. to basically all day. So I want to say I took the first shift, so like I would show up early, 5 a.m. Don't know why this was our first thought or idea that, hey, we need open hour. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the person that we were like subleasing through them in the mall, they basically made it sound like we had to have set hours and open times, someone always there, like when the mall was open. So, which ended up not being the case at all, and we went away from this idea fairly soon. But anyways, like that first, I'm like, okay, 5 a.m. That's when people typically want to go work out. People, in my mind, like, hey, maybe people are gonna just show up to sign up now that we're open. That was not the case. Nobody showed up at that like 5 a.m. early morning times just to sign up. So I was just at the facility and nobody would come. And like I said, I had no clients early mornings at that time. The only clients I did have, like right when we opened, were just a couple kids that I was formally training at the Farley Sports Facility when I was going out there for some private sessions before this facility. So I had at least a couple of those clients, and then I was still training my brother. So had a time with him for after school, and same with these little kids. They were elementary kids. That, like I said, came with me from the Farley facility. So I had a few clients, just a couple paying clients. But anyways, we tried the open hours. So I would show up early mornings, basically start working on the computer right away with marketing stuff, making some programs for my clients, and um, building out, editing the website all the time, creating like services, learning eSoft, our scheduling site even more. So a lot of stuff on the computer early in the mornings, but I was there just in case, in my mind, just in case someone showed up and wanted to sign up. But then once the mall opened up, um, I think they opened at like 9 or 10. We still had to be open, whatever. At least that was our plan. So like my cousin would find a ride with, I believe his parents would drive him from Dyersville because he was in a wheelchair, or is in a wheelchair. So he had to find a ride from Dyersville. Um, he would cover a little shift so I could go home and eat. I would come back in the afternoons or whatever. Every time day was different, I guess. But he would come take over some time. My buddy, he would come and take over some shifts, just like I said, in case someone just decided to walk in the doors to learn about us or see what we could offer to sign up. But yeah, at the start we had open hours, but like I said, we quickly kind of faded away from that because it was pointless. We made it shortly after that. Okay, we're gonna be there if we're training, and we'll have like open hours like later in the evenings. Have someone at the desk, because some people were walking around the mall and wanted to just stop in to see what's up and see what this new space was, what we offered. Ton of people asking for memberships or like asking what a membership cost, which we really didn't do the membership side of things. We had a couple people that paid monthly that could use that use this facility. A couple people I knew, and then later on, just a couple other people that we needed to make some money. So we offered them a membership that they could just come and work out. Yeah. Anyways, after that grand opening, I had at least a couple clients. So the thing was like with me, I wanted to make something totally like I guess different and with the training side of the things. So my approach was okay. The other facilities around they have like athlete groups like this age group shows up at this time. This one shows up at this time and here's the workout. I didn't want to do that, so I wanted to do like all private sessions. So I put together like some session packages where they bought one session, it's this price, bought 8 sessions, 12, 24, and then we could schedule them out however they'd like. My rates when I first opened, even in the mall, I think the most expensive per session rate was like $10 or $12 per hour. And that was like if you bought 24 sessions, I think it might have been like 16, but one of the higher package options, it came out to a total of like $10 to $12 per session. Needless to say, that's not much money, but I just needed to get clients. Taking this private training approach, it was or I had to get a lot of clients in order to make some money with those rates. So I kind of figured, I don't know how like this idea kind of popped in my head, but it made sense to me to start targeting like younger kids, like youth athletes, like like elementary, middle school age. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, if high school kids typically, for the most part, if they are working out outside of school, they probably are already going somewhere else. Um, and it's a lot harder to develop a high school kid from scratch than it is like a younger kid, especially just getting started with training. And high school, they're kind of in their ways at times already. So it's probably a lot tougher to get high school kids to sign up with me who's new to this and new facility. Wanted to target like the younger kids because too I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a good job and I'm gonna dive all in to these clients, like dive all in like no trainer has ever done before in this area. I'm gonna learn about them, see how their body moves, taking a long-term approach with these young kids to truly develop them properly and help them be ready to hit the ground running by the time they get to high school where it really mattered with their athletics. And I thought, okay, if I do that, I'm going to build a good relationship with them. I'm diving all in on their programming. I'm going to coach them the right way. I'm going to take it very, very, very slow. If they can't figure out a drill, we're going to spend that whole session or longer to get their body moving correctly for this one specific drill. So I was like, if I do all of that, these elementary, middle school kids, they're going to be with me for the next 4, 5, 6, 7+ years. And now I don't need to go out and find new clients all the time. Like if I got high school kids, okay, I might have them for a year, 2, 3, 4 maybe. And then I'm going to have to find all new clients to take their place. But if I target and start marketing more to like youth, with now I have clients for many years to come, and I don't need to find new clients, and then I can just hire another trainer, and we keep taking that same approach that if you're doing a good job as a trainer, these kids are going to be with you for years to come. And like I said, you can I wanted to truly like develop them the way I guess thought that they should be developed, very slow, just get their bodies moving. And like I said, by the time they get to high school, their technique's good. So if they're lifting at school, they know how to move their body properly. I trust them doing it on their own. They feel confident, and we can, like I said, just hit the ground running when it truly matters in their high school, once they get to high school. So that was kind of, like I said, even at the start when we opened in the mall, like that was kind of my thought process behind like, how am I going to get clients? Who am I going to target? Um, don't get me wrong, like I definitely wanted like the high school kids, and ended up getting like a couple here and there. Like I said, I was still training my brother, so I was trying to get a lot of content with him too, to push out on social media. Like, hey, we're doing training this high school football guy. He was on this. They were state runner up in football, and then ended up his senior year winning state, and he ended up getting NAIA scholarship to go play football. But anyways, I would push out content of him, and then ended up getting one other like high school football guy out from Wisconsin. He ended up like driving like 45 minutes, I want to say, like 2 or 3 days a week to train with me. I want to say he was going into his senior year, when, or it might have been the football season after his junior year. He started training with me, so I had him for like a year. But yeah, I started out, most of my clients when we first started were elementary kids, little kids, and it's kind of funny. The I had like really, I would say like 4 or 5 like main clients, kind of off the jump, like right away. Uh, One of them, he actually just graduated high school last year and got a full ride scholarship to play baseball at Illinois. He trained with me from when he started with me in 7th grade, just a couple months after we opened up. He was in 7th grade, and then he stayed with me all 7th, 8th grade, all through high school. This kid ended up being and seeing me 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days per week for those like 7 years, and he was all in. It's so cool, like just kind of surreal moment last year when he graduated and signed that full ride to play for the Division I baseball at Illinois. Now he's currently there at his freshman year. But I just remember like he was that little 7th grader that I ran him through like a little combine showcase, like when he first started, got his like vertical, his 10-yard dash, his pro agility, broad jump, as a little 7th grader, and his dad loved it because I was writing all the numbers down and explaining my plan, like long-term approach with him. We're going to do this, X, Y, and Z. Thankfully, the dad, he was all in, and now he's a good friend to this day. But we had him. Another one of my very first clients was this little 4th grader, Drake, who's still currently training with me. Now he's a sophomore in high school, and same thing, he trains with me 3 to 4 days per week, basically the whole year. And he's been with me since he was in fourth grade, and he too signed up just a couple months after we opened up. Um, and then outside of that, I had another little kid who was a main client. He was in, I want to say it was fifth grade when he first started with me, and he ended up training with me for 3 or 4 years, twice, a couple times a week. Uh, Ended up getting one of my like very first like elite athletes. Was this volleyball player at Western Dubuque, Meredith. She was a sophomore, and from everything I heard from like other people, they were saying like how good she was, and how much potential she had. And she ended up being a client of mine for 3 years until she graduated, and was state champion in volleyball, all state, won tournament MVP, went on to get a Division II scholarship, and she was a main client of mine right off the jump when we first started as well. So looking back on it, it's super cool seeing like some of these athletes that are now take or that took like the next step and being a part of their athletic journey, and these athletes that took they they put their trust in me when I had like no experience and just opened up in the mall. So I mean, it's it's a true blessing for these people to take that chance with me with their kid. And and then when they did take that chance, like I said, I dove all in to these clients, and I made it a staple that this is what bar raising fitness is going to be about. It's going to be trainers who actually care about their clients, who spend time outside of the session making a program for them, always changing that program based on the client's schedule, based on how they're feeling that day when they walk in, based on how much sleep they get, how much they ate that day, what they're doing after this, when they have a game, like all those little tiny details. I said bar raising fitness is gonna do all those, take notice of all those little details, and we're gonna give that client exactly what they need that specific session, and provide value every single session, no matter how long they've been with us, no matter their age, no matter how good they currently are. Um, we're gonna do these things, and we're gonna do it the right way, and we're gonna build that relationship with the client to where they trust us, and they want to put in that work. They want to eat better. They want to dive all into their goals. Like, we don't tell them, like, I never like told a client like what to do. Like, I wanted them to want to do it themselves, and kind of took that approach from the jump. And those few clients that I got right away, I made sure this is what I was going to do. And I mean, the results speak for themselves. Like, all those clients that took the chance ended up becoming elite athletes. And even those that didn't go on and play in college, like I had a few that were great in high school, and they ended up not going to that next, or taking that opportunity to go play at the next level because they wanted to be done. But anyways, they put that trust in me. I put it back in them that they were gonna do what they say they wanted to do, and hold themselves accountable too. Like, that is so just rewarding. Knowing that even after their sport days are over and they just go on with life, they're gonna know how to take care of their body, and they're gonna be confident doing so. Like that's just something the client I felt deserved when they're signing up with me, no matter how much they were paying, no matter how old they were. I'm gonna dive all in, and that's, I mean, that's how truly how we stayed afloat. Like, because I, the clients that I had they were getting value every single session. So they had no reason to say, we're not doing this anymore. They saw that value that I was providing to their kid or themselves, because I did have some personal training clients too. Remember, I got this like older man. I think he was in his like upper 60s, low 70s. He signed up with me because he needed to get healthier and wanted to be able to keep moving as he continued to get older. And did the same thing with them. I had a handful of other kids that trained with me at that time. A lot of them liked how cheap I was too. But once they signed up, and like I said, even though it was $10 a session or $12 a session that I was only getting, I knew that wasn't going to be forever. But like, I was going to still put in that extra work outside of that session, to make sure they get value every time that the session comes, and word's going to spread, and it will pay off in the end, with all the energy that I've given them. But yeah, back to kind of like the money thing. So like this, for like first year, I want to say it was like I had some sessions, which was good. It was really good. It was better than nothing. But we were not making money to pay rent and to pay all the other bills. That's ended up paying with a credit card for like the first year, paid our rent with a credit card, uh, which was a little hefty, but thankfully, with hard work, some luck, we ended up paying that off very quickly, after the next year. But yeah, that first year was pretty stressful, I will say, paying every single month in a not a cheap rent, paying it with a credit card, and just kind of piling up that credit card debt. But like I said, uh, thankfully we weren't in that hole very long. But yeah, that first year it was kind of, it just flew by. That first year of being open, I remember I tried in a like adult fitness class early in the mornings, and it was pretty cheap for like 4 or 8 weeks, and ended up just getting a couple signing up, a husband and wife signing up with it because they wanted to try something new. So I ran like a boot camp circuit in the morning. I'd show up at 4:30 in the morning, get it set up, uh, all for two people, where that was even cheaper per session, than the private training sessions, because it was supposed to be a group program and I was hoping to have more than two people sign up for it. But I wasn't going to tell those two people, hey, we're not doing this anymore, because I needed everything I could get. So they ended up staying with me for like a couple, maybe 3 or 4 months, doing those early morning classes at like 5 a.m. So had them for a handful of months, which every penny mattered, in that stage. But yeah, that first year we got by, and we were officially 1 year anniversary since starting up in the gym, or starting up in the garage. And now we were coming up on a year of being open in the mall. Um, we ended up too shortly after, or coming up on that like year, like 6, 7 months of being open in the mall. Ended up getting a couple groups. There was actually like a high school, or not a high school, like the local like hockey club, uh, their youth program. They had a trainer that they were looking for a space just to use for their summer program, I believe, to just train this group of hockey kids and use our space. Thought it was a great opportunity to make a little bit of money and just to have people use our space, which, anyone that stepped foot in our facility, it was good because someone was using it. So we had that hockey group. they just paid per person to use it. I want to say, like I said, like all summer, a couple times. It was 4 or 5 days a week in the mid mornings. So I blocked off no sessions during that, so the hockey team could use our space. So that helped a little bit. Just it was encouraging getting a large group in there, just using the space, and then like I said, making a little bit more off that large group. And then with that, I would always try and I guess like a marketing tactic. I thought it was to get some youth athletes to sign up. I kept making like random youth speed and agility camp, 1 hour camp for $20 on like the weekends. So I had those going all the time, just getting, and they were actually, I will say, surprisingly, like had a decent amount of people sign up for that, where they just signed up for that one, 1 day camp, and it ended up being a good little kind of funnel system to get basically every camp that I had a couple people interested at least in like training with me or outside of or after those camps. So it ended up, like I said, being a good little funnel to get some of those youth athletes, like I said, I was targeting. So ran those camps all the time on the weekends, and tried. Like I said, we were in that baseball facility too, so me and them ran a couple like little camps with like their teams. So like anyone that signed up, which the baseball side of things, they took majority of that money from like the camps. But hey, I had to do anything to get some people and to get a little bit of money any way I could. So I ran a couple camps with the baseball side of things, and ended up getting a couple clients from those camps signing up with me after. So it was a good little roll that we were getting on after that, coming up on that like year mark of being open, and a couple, couple teams or volleyball team like reached out asking about like team training. And so I was training this like volleyball team a couple times a week for a couple months, I want to say it was, and it felt good. I had a good schedule. I was getting full. Outside of all the sessions, when I wasn't training, I was working on the computer. I really didn't get much sleep. I didn't really have a personal life at all. Wake up early, get to the facility, do a couple sessions, work on the computer, try and get my workout in, show up, a session here, session there. Thankfully, I was moved into a little apartment with two people I knew right next to the mall, so that helped. I lived there for like 6 months, and then ended up renting a place not that far from there after that. But I would show up when I had a session. Like I said, they were here and there throughout the day. Once school got out, I had more sessions until late at night. I had sessions till like 10 p.m. some nights. So early mornings, get done late at night, and then just do it. I did that like 5 days a week. Show up on the weekends, early morning on Saturdays. I have a couple of sessions later on Saturday afternoons. Basically, whenever someone wanted to train, I made sure I was going to be there. And then I had some sessions on Sundays. And then when I wasn't training, like I said, I was on the computer doing marketing. I was making content for our social media. I was reaching out to schools. I ended up also kind of partnering with the Piasta Rec Center at like when we first opened, where I think it was like twice a week at like 9 a.m. I would go out to Piasta Rec Center and run a fitness class for their members as an independent contractor with Bar Raising Fitness. So I did that for a handful of months. I would go out to Piasta mid-morning and do a fitness class out there, uh, which they paid like $25 a session, so that wasn't bad at that time. Uh, excuse me. So, like I said, sorry about that. Cough is still lingering. Uh, but yeah, after was just doing whatever I had to, like I said, make this work. And those sessions that I did have, those clients stayed with me, which helped a lot. Like I didn't need to keep re-upping clients and finding new clients. And actually, um, after a year of being open, or yeah, close to that year, had someone reach out about like an internship. He was at Loras College studying kinesiology, and he asked about an internship. I'm like, hey, my schedule's pretty well full, or it's getting pretty full. I have a lot of clients, and a lot of people are still kind of reaching out. And when these not all, big fan of like doing these youth camps all the time anymore. Yeah, hey, you want to be an intern? Join. I can't say I have much for you to do, but yeah, that sounds cool. Which it was looking back on it, like it was the most pointless internship you could probably have because I didn't have much. I was still trying to learn how to do it. And so I'm not the best person to try and teach that. But this intern, his name was Tyler. He ended up being one of our first employees too that we hired, and ended up being a really good trainer for us and moved out to our Dyersville facility before he was with us for, don't quote me on this, but it was like 3 years, 2 or 3 years. He was with us after that internship actually, so it ended up panning out, and I'm glad I accepted that internship and took a chance. And even though it was a very pointless internship, it ended up working out for both of us. Um, Ended up being a super cool guy and helping us a lot. But yeah, took on his internship. So I wasn't also the biggest fan with the internship. I didn't want to just give him clients to train because that was kind of Bar Raising's reputation on the line with an intern. So didn't give him too many clients, but he helped out with some of our camps. And then, like I said, later on after that, ended up being us hiring him. But yeah, took that coming up on that year mark of just opening. Uh, we had an intern, and then shortly after after that, 1 year or a month after, yeah, I guess it would be 1 year after being open, 2020 happened. So COVID, and we were shut down. Um, so that was crazy. We just had it felt like things were rolling. I had a decent amount of clients. Earn. I had some camps going. A team training with me. We had some momentum, and like that, no longer are open in business. Like it was, you, I didn't know what to think. Thankfully, like we did end up like saving a little bit, and we're making a very little small amount of money that was able to at least get us through COVID. Because I mean, the rent, we still had to pay rent, and thankfully we were in Iowa, which we weren't locked or shut down, locked out like super long compared to some. But yeah, COVID came and we had to shut everything down, which I mean, I still think it was complete bullshit. Um, but hey, Hobby Lobby, they could open up before we could. Makes sense. But don't want to get too much into COVID, but just don't forget that happened. Government shut everything down for it was no reason, ended up being no reason. And thankfully, we were not ones to lose our business. And thankfully, during that time, I had a couple people that did trust me. And like Fody, for instance, the guy that just signed with Illinois, like his dad and family asked me to come to their house during COVID, like when we were shut down. They come drive out to Galena, 30 minutes away, and train his son in their house 4 days a week. Huge blessing. Like that kept me motivated. This kid was getting in work. He loved it. And they paid a little bit for that. So that helped a lot during that I would go out to his house. And then a couple of my other clients, like they paid for like at home programs that their kid could do on their own. So I'm very blessed to have a good group of clients at that time, and they were all, like I said, like little kids, but their families trusted me and they wanted to help out. Um, so a couple of them, like I said, they bought those at home programs. Fody still had me come to his house 4 days a week. I tried some online like fitness workouts for some people, and I had like, I want to say there was like two or three people that like paid me like $25 a month to do, like send some workouts for them to do on their own, and I would record myself doing it, send it in an email, and they could do it at home. Was trying to do whatever I had to make a little bit while we were shut down. Didn't know why we were shut down in the first place. I also had the baseball facility, like the owners, their son started training with me too, Solon. He was in eighth grade, I believe, at the time, um, eighth or ninth, or going into his ninth grade year. And he just started training with me before the shutdowns, but then even during the shutdowns, we would still meet up at the facility and do some private sessions, and they paid me a little bit for that. And he ended up signing with Arizona State out of high school for baseball, and he was with me for the all 4 years of high school, which was pretty cool to see. But yeah, he was someone too that wanted to help out and trusted me, so would train them during the shutdowns too. Just like I said, doing whatever I had to do to get a little bit of money to help us get by. But also, like I said, we were very blessed to be in Iowa, and even though every time when I was driving by, I just get so frustrated seeing what was open and that we were shut down, even though it was just typically a one-on-one session and a gym where people are trying to get healthy. Like the most important thing you can do to not get sick is be healthy. And yeah, we were shut down, but a bunch of businesses that were not essential and that only cause harm to the body, they were open. But yeah, we had to go through COVID a year after first opening in the mall. And with that too, right before COVID, I had an opportunity to open up a facility in Dyersville. Uh, my dad had a building that he wanted to buy for his landscaping business, and they had multiple like sections of that building, and he was wondering, hey, if I bought this building, would you rent out a space and would you be interested in that? And I was like, damn right I would. I think Dyersville is a great spot for like what we offer. All the little towns around it, multiple high schools in the area, no other true training facilities in that area at all. Um, yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity, so I told him, yeah. And COVID happened. Like we had to try and get things ready to roll for Dyersville. Which at first we were just gonna go in this little 3-car section that was like less than 1,000 square feet, I think. It might have been like 1,000 square feet or 1,500, but ended up moving into a 2,500 square foot spot at first. And then that ended up being like 3,000 square feet because we just kept kind of adding onto it. So we were about to open up a 3,000 square foot facility in Dyersville. COVID happens, trying to plan out everything. We had made the announcement that May that, hey, we're coming to Dyersville in this 3,000 square foot space, and had to try and find equipment for that space, flooring, everything to kind of get ready. And we were gonna open in like June, I think, because that's like when we had access to the space. And then we ended up pushing it back to like mid-July because COVID, the shutdowns. Finding the equipment was so challenging. It was like an equipment shortage, all the factories and everything, manufacturers, warehouses. So I had to bounce around like so many different equipment like manufacturers to like gather up some equipment, which I guess didn't even dive into like how could you may ask like how could you even afford to go into Dyersville after just being open a year? And that's a very good question. And to be completely honest, we could not afford it. Like if we're looking at the books, like any good accountant would say you can't afford that, and they would be right. Like we couldn't afford it, but it was an opportunity that I wasn't going to pass up. And we got another loan, and I did the loan process, same thing like with everyone I knew, like asking friends, if you want to give $1,000, I'll at 5 or 7%. Like I just raised money any way I could through family again, taking out loans through them, friends, old friends, them giving me some loans. We just paid off the bank loan for that first facility, so got a very small loan through them again for Dyersville because we just paid off the Dubuque one. And yeah, did just raised money and found the best deals for equipment. Unfortunately, like it's sad that some facilities gyms were closing, but I did benefit from some like auctions that were happening with some gyms that were closing down. So I ended up getting like flooring super cheap. Found like turf from someone that I knew that had extra turf from their baseball facility out in Farley. Like I just scavenged for equipment, flooring, everything that we needed. And like the first facility did not look anything special, but in Dyersville, but ended up managing to get a facility put together during COVID, and we ended up opening July, what was it, July 18th, 2020. So just when like everything got reopened. I can't remember exactly when Iowa reopened everything. It might have been like May or June. But shortly after the reopening, like we did our grand opening in Dyersville. Um, but a side note too, I guess that I just thought of like with the equipment during COVID, also to help like make some money, I found like fitness equipment like on Facebook being for like people selling it on the marketplace. They were selling it pretty cheap, and I knew what equipment was going for right now and what it's going to be going for, and then for the months following the shutdowns because of the equipment shortage and everyone wanting to work out at home. So I was flipping equipment on Facebook. I was finding like some of our old equipment in the facility. Like, okay, what can I sell now? Because since we're shut down, what can I sell now and then that we don't necessarily need this moment, but I'm able to sell it right now more than I paid for it. So I sold some of the equipment that we had and made money off of it. And then, like I said, I would go on Facebook and find cheap equipment through auctions, marketplace, and then I would resell it on Facebook again for more money, which I was actually had a lot of success doing that and came out on top during that shutdown with our equipment at least. Um, but that was another just little way to kind of hustle to get by during COVID. But yeah, that was the first year in business. I had got some clients. COVID just struck. Got through that announced opening in Dyersville. We had that opportunity. Grand opening launched July 18th, 2020 in Dyersville. Got two facilities now. 2 years after opening in the garage, two facilities now, and kind of took the same approach with Dyersville. But we'll pick up on this next week to kind of talk about how we managed to get two facilities rolling and continue just telling the story of how we got to where we are today. But yeah, until next time, keep raising your standard.